I have listened to hundreds of speakers. I haven't liked them all. I haven't liked a lot of speakers that people kind of universally love. So we're going to talk about a few of those. And I'm not saying I'm right. I want this to be an interactive video. You tell me why I'm wrong. You tell me what I may have missed about this speaker. And that way, we can help everybody, because not everybody loves the same type of chocolate cake. Not everybody loves a cheeseburger from Five Guys. Maybe you like In-N-Out, which is great. Maybe you like Whataburger, which is even better. Maybe you even like McDonald's. To make you wrong. So let's get into it. The first speaker, this is probably no surprise to anybody that watches the channel, is the KEF LS50. Both versions, the LS50 and the LS50 Meta. I understand that people can like this speaker. I even hear things or experience things with this speaker that I could at least admit that yes, this is why people love this speaker. However, I think it was terribly hard to drive. I thought it was a little grainy in the mid-range. I don't think it's super dynamic, and that's another excuse for that speaker, is you need a ton of power on it. I thought the best that speaker has ever sounded was actually with a 25-watt DAC integrated amplifier. I've had a lot of amplifiers on that speaker. Either way, I've never loved that speaker. However, I can appreciate why some people may like that speaker. And another thing is, if there is a product that is on the used market and there's a whole bunch of them, chances are people probably didn't like that speaker after they got it either. That's a good way to check and see. Maybe other people didn't like that speaker as much either. It's a bittersweet day. This has been my Stalewart wallet, my carbon fiber Ridge, but I think I finally found one that's worthy to replace this one. It is almost Father's Day, and if you're a father, treat yourself to a new Ridge wallet, or treat the fathers in your lives to a new Ridge wallet. They have all sorts of cool stuff, like pens, and I am super excited about the new brass line. I got the brass pen, I got the brass wallet, and on a recent trip to Italy, I was able to give the gift of Ridge to some of my new friends. Check it out. What do you think of your new Ridge wallet?
I love it. I like genuinely love this thing.
Do you think it's like the perfect Father's Day gift?
Yeah. If my kids got this for me, I would love it. This thing's awesome. And I love green. Perfect for Italy.
Are you 100% off the fat wallet merry-go-round?
I am. 100%.
Right now, they're running a Father's Day sale up to June 15th. You get up to 40% off some of your favorite Ridge items. Perfect time to give your brother, your father, yourself a gift. And awesome deals on rings and NFL wallets. So go to ridge.com/cheapaudioman and start saving up to 40% today for yourself or for a loved one. Thank you, Ridge, for sponsoring today's video. Another speaker that I didn't love, and I love just about every ELAC speaker that's been put out. I love just about every Andrew Jones speaker that's been put out, but it was the Debut B6.2. I love the B6. Debut B6. I thought they were great. I thought they were revelatory. I thought their off-axis performance was awesome. I listened to them once and my wife thought I was listening to a 5-channel surround system, but it was only 2 speakers. I was super excited to get the B6.2s in, and I felt like they were sterile. They weren't dynamic. Super duper neutral, and if anything, a little bit tilted in the upper mid-range and not extended. I felt like everything was right in the middle, and I've heard that you have to let those burn in for about 3,300 hours before they start to sound good. Unfortunately, I don't have that much time. I bought that speaker twice because I thought there was something wrong with me. Turns out I just didn't like that speaker. KLH Model 5. Now, when I had this speaker in, I did have glimpses of its brilliance. It has a tweeter cut switch, so you can kind of basically bring down the treble if you want. This is a sealed enclosure. It's a three-way. I found, for me personally, I had to turn the tweeter all the way down and get it all the way against the wall. I'm not saying this isn't a good speaker. What I am saying is, personally for me, this wouldn't be a speaker that I would buy. However, with the aluminum dome tweeter, some things, a lot of metallic instruments, especially Metallica's, for whom the bell tolls, was revelatory. But on most of the music that I listened to on it, it didn't particularly move the needle for me. I would have rather listened to my three-way Wharfedale Linton. I feel like those are a little bit more balanced, but I get why people like the KLH Model 5. It's a cool speaker, just not the one for me. The Micca RB42, I kind of already did a video about how I got this speaker wrong, but I'm going to stick with my initial review because while that speaker does have the capability of sounding really awesome, you have to put a bunch of power through it, and then you have to play it loud, and you have to play it in a big room. So for most people, they're going to have that speaker on a desktop. So with a little bit of power going through it, I don't think it sounds as good as when it's in a big room with a lot of juice running through it. Now, if you use a little bit of tone controls, if you use a little bit of loudness control, I can see the RB42s from Micca being pretty good on the desktop. Problem is, I don't really have a great alternative for those that is remotely close to its price. So the RB42s, I kind of get and I kind of don't get them. Here, show everybody what you got. Look at that, Bucky's outfits. And before anybody freaks out, we are wearing seatbelts. I want to make sure that we're wearing seatbelts on this end of the trip. Okay, I apologize for them not being in seatbelts. Bad dad. That's right, bad dad. B&W, the 606 Gen 3 or whatever it is. I didn't love them. I could see on certain songs they did sound okay, but for the most part, playing most music, this was not a speaker that I would buy. Trying to hush now. Please be quiet. I'm shooting a video right now. We're literally going to be done in like 20 seconds. Hush it. All right. What was I saying? B&W. I can see some acoustic stuff sounding really fun on these. Singer-songwriter stuff, folk type stuff. But a lot of dynamic rock and roll, metal. There was just some weirdness going on in the upper mid-range that just didn't do it for me. I can understand why this speaker is popular. I get it. I wouldn't buy it. The Focal, the most affordable Focal that you can get. It's a little bookshelf speaker. I listened to these in a place in Houston, and I was really impressed. For about a minute. They had Hotel California, the one that's constantly played all the time from the MTV Unplugged or just an unplugged record with the Eagles. Yeah, she got the Cookie Monster. Anyway, they sounded great. They were super dynamic, super punchy, and then all of a sudden they got a little bit fatiguing, and that was on their system in their room. I can only imagine what those things would sound like in my place with a little bit of juice going through them. So the Focal, the most affordable bookshelf speaker, very impressive initially, but after a while, especially with my music, it just too much on the top end. And there's a lot of it lacking in the lower midge. It was all punch and sizzle, not a lot of meat in the middle. The Klipsch Heresy. I can kind of get why people like this speaker, but it wasn't very dynamic. There wasn't a ton of bass. It was fun. It was lively. I would actually rather have one of their floor standing speakers in the reference line, like maybe the 6.5 inch woofer one. Now granted, there's a lot of scoop out in the mids, but on the Heresy, there's something going on with the mids too, and there's no bass punch. So if I'm going Klipsch, I'm going floor standard Klipsch, probably the 6.5 inch version. Super deep, but that speaker was a lot of fun. Actually, I think I need to get another Klipsch floor stander in. I gotta do it. The Buchardt S400 Mark II, coming in at well over $2,000, was a good speaker, but it never resonated with me like it did with a lot of other people that had listened to it before. For me, it was very textured on the bottom, very powerful on the bottom. But at the end of the day, for $2,500, I would probably be spending my money on a tower speaker, something that had a very extended top end. Don't get me wrong, for a bookshelf speaker of its size, I think it does amazing things on the bottom end. Ironically, I actually preferred the lower cost, I believe it's P400, P300, coming in at 1,400 euros a pair, which I still think is overpriced, but personally, I thought that was a better speaker than the S400 Mark II, at least a better speaker for me. I think Buchardt is great. I just feel like they're overpriced. When you're getting north of $1,000, there's a lot of competition when it comes to people like Polk, the Reserve series, Emotiva's entire line, Klipsch, SVS, heck, KEF. You get 2 pairs of KEF LS50 Metas for what you'd pay for 1 pair of Buchardt S400 Mark II. I think they're good, but they're not for me. I also think the ELAC Unify reference gave me enough of the Buchardt S400 Mark II vibes at less than half the price. And I think it had better soundstage and imaging because of the concentric driver. Speaking of the Unify 2.0 does a heck of a job. Not as warm, doesn't have as much textured bass as the S400 Mark II from Buchardt, but still gets you 85-90% of the way there with being a little bit more neutral at less than a quarter of the price. Last one, Triangle. Guess what? Nobody talks about Triangle anymore. There was a big push with Triangle maybe 3.5 years ago with their entry level line. I can't remember exactly what the model number was, but when it came out, it was $650. I bought them used for around $400. I think you can find them new right now for $350, which should tell you something. Not a bad speaker, especially at $350. I think it's actually a good speaker. Front ported, dual port, 6.5 inch woofer, soft dome tweeter, I believe. Didn't have the clarity of the ELAC Debut reference, which is still being made, still available, and around the $600 mark, $700 mark. Didn't have the excitement of the Klipsch RP600M at the time, but yet was still coming in at the same price. At $350, I think it's a decent speaker, if not a good speaker at $350. Not a bad speaker, but I didn't understand when everybody was doing backflips over. So I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, you really need to check out a crazy audiophile system for less than $500. It's an awesome video. I'll link it here or here. Thank you so much for watching.